good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're listening to this. This is Dallas, just with a very quick talking video. I just did recorded a couple other demos, so I'm just leaving my guitar hanging here. I just wanted to talk really quickly about something that I had been kind of thinking about, and just wanted to pass down to you all about gear acquisition syndrome, which is something that I have gone off and on and suffered from. Even more so, I've watched band members, friends, um, you know, uh, peers, just different other musicians go through it in ways that is almost detrimental. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But let's first talk about my three tips on how to kind of help yourself with that and how to frame it in your mind to kind of help get over it, okay? And then after that, we'll talk about why I think it can be so detrimental. Okay, so let's start with tip number one. And I think this is probably uh, number one for me is learn something new playing wise. Always revert to expanding your knowledge of the fretboard and of music in general. Always view that, and it's sometimes it's hard because you don't get the immediate type of gratification as you do from a new piece of gear. But what's hard for your brain to kind of realize in the moment, because obviously we're dealing with like dopamine hits and all this different other, there's lots of layers to why it's so great to get new gear. But at the end of the day, the the something new on your instrument or musically is going to last you much longer, and it's going to go way further, and it's going to make it so that when you do finally get new gear, you're better and it feels more fun and everything comes alive. And I mean, the only thing cooler than a nice new Gibson Les Paul is when you actually have some dope new licks to shred on it, and you actually like are excited about what you're playing, not just like running the course of noodling. So I think that sometimes we undervalue learning something new, and I think we don't necessarily see it as apples to apples with getting new gear, but it kind of is. Like, you have really the reason for you getting that new gear. A lot of times, yes, you need something, but a lot of times you are trying to fill the void of not feeling like you're good enough, and like you need something to get better. If I only had this tone, if I only had this sound, or this or this that, or this ability to loop this, or like, if and all of a sudden your brain starts to trick you into that's going to make you better, when really what's going to make you better is practice. So they are apples to apples, believe it or not, and I feel strongly about that. Tip number two is realizing that anything you sell, okay, yeah, right now you might feel like you don't want it or you want something else more, but you're going to down the road not just miss it, but probably regret it and think you didn't make a correct move. I mean, you're certain not to like every move you make when it comes to buying and selling. It's just kind of the nature of the beast when it comes to it. As musicians, I mean, I've been buying and selling gear longer than the internet's been invented. So, I mean, it's I just, I don't know. That one, I don't feel quite as strongly about as tip number one. Like, number one, the most important thing is just practicing more. But number two is you are probably going to regret the moves you're making. Not all of them. I mean, sometimes you're going to get something and you love it and it's dope. Sometimes you get like a pedal and it's almost like a new instrument. It does something different, makes you play different. I mean, there are reasons to get gear, and I don't want to come off like I'm telling you not to get new gear, because of course get new gear. Gear is fucking fantastic, right? Number three is just framing it more as like an investment in your mind. Like, when you get gear, if you're continuously flipping it, I mean, you're kind of just pissing your money away. I mean, I don't care what you say, how good you are at finding, the different deals, or, however good you think you are at flipping. I mean, there's elements to it where sometimes we all get a great deal on something. Sometimes we can sit on something longer than other times. So sometimes we can try to maximize the value. But I've sat on something for a year where where finally I lowered the price and it still didn't sell. I mean, there's, I mean, you're gonna lose. So I mean, if you want to treat it more kind of like an investment, I mean, you gotta hold on to stuff for a really long time before you can really move it and like see any kind of like profit. So, you know, when you start getting into nicer instruments, I feel like they can be looked at as a little bit more of an investment. You know, and I do understand that there's, you know, the being a collector aspect of it. I mean, I consider myself a collector, especially when it comes to like pedals and stuff like that. So I, you know, I don't know. I'm not telling you. I don't want to poo-poo getting new gear in this. I just want to kind of go through how I help myself keep it tame the beast. You know, tame the animal, right? So to say. So I hope that helps. You know, meanwhile, I'm gonna go back to landing my spaceship here with my thousands of pedals. Talk about the pot calling the kettle black, right? Well, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, night, morning, whatever it is when you're listening to this. Peace and keep on strumming, my friends.